Hi Year 1. Today for Maths we're continuing looking at fractions. In Year 1, by the end of the year we need to know half, quarters and be starting to begin to look at eighths. Today we are going to do a bit of a maths lesson where you need to follow along with what I tell you to do in this video. So first of all, you're going to need a piece of toast. So I'd like you to pause this video and go and put some toast on the toaster and then bring it back on a little plate. You will also need some Vegemite, butter, and a knife to spread those on with. So off you hop, go and grab a plate, some toast, some Vegemite, some butter, and a knife. All right, we're going to butter our bread together, Year 1. That's what we're learning to do today, butter our bread. I hope you have nice spreadable butter because this can be a bit of a pain. And Mrs. Tupman has a nice cup of tea to enjoy with her toast. French Earl Grey, that's my favourite. So buttering your toast. I'm wondering if I can show you. Now, in our story, Possum Magic, that we watched yesterday for maths, I got you to revise your capital cities and your states and territories of Australia that we learnt in geography in term 2 from Possum Magic. And I said this term, when we're reading Possum Magic, our Possum Magic activities aren't about places in Australia. We're going to be using the food that Grandma, Poss and Hush have on their journey. So yesterday we did some maths with lamingtons. What do you think, which food from the story are we going to be playing with for maths today? I've already given you some big clues. Vegemite toast. I wonder if you hate or love Vegemite. If you're at home and you really hate it, maybe you might like to cheat and use something else like peanut butter or jam or Nutella, Mrs. Tupman's all-time favourite. All right, we're going to open up our Vegemite now and Vegemite our toast. Off you go. I wonder how much Vegemite you think is the perfect amount to put on a toast. Australians are quite divided on this topic. Mrs. Tupman likes what you call the smidge. Just a little smidge of Vegemite. Lots of butter. Perfect. Actually looks quite dark on the camera. I don't like too much, just the perfect amount to get a little bit salty, like that salty Australian Vegemite taste. All right. With our toast today, we're going to be playing with fractions. So the first fraction that we're going to be making is called a half. Can you tell me, how do you spell the word half? Did you say H-A-L-F? Read it back to me. How do you spell it? H-A-L-F. All right. Wave those beautiful phoneme fingers at me. I use my phoneme fingers to sound out words. Let's sound it out. Ready? H-A-F. Grab the word from the sky. Half. Let's do it again. H-A-F. Half. What two letters are making one sound in the word half? Are you thinking A-L? Is my digraph? If you are, you're right. H-A-F. Other way. H-A-F. Half. How many phonemes are in the word half? 3. H-A-F. Half. How many syllables are in the word half? A syllable is how many beats are in a word. Remember all our rhymes from Year 1. I hope you're not forgetting. You'll need them when we come back. How many beats are in this word? Let's clap it out. Half. 1 syllable. I can write fractions in word form, or I can write them in number form. I wonder, do you know how to write a half in number form? It looks like this. 1/2. So fractions always have this line in the middle with a number on top and a number on the bottom. The number on the bottom tells me how many parts I need to divide my shape up into. So if I have a circle, here's my circle, and I'm going to cut it in half, this bottom number tells me how many equal parts I need to make there be. 2. I drew a line through the middle so that I would have 2 equal parts. I can shade one side to represent 1/2. So here's my 1/2 over here. Okay. If I shaded both halves, have a look at this. Now I've just shaded the whole thing. I could change the number on the top of my fraction to 2 because I've shaded 2 halves. There's 2 equal parts. I cut my shape into 2 equal parts. That's my fraction. But then I shaded both sides. The top number tells me how many parts are shaded. I can also call this 1/2 and represent it just with a big number 1. This is called 1/2. 1/2, because I've shaded the whole thing. I want you now to go ahead with your toast, which is Vegemited right up, and I want you to cut it in half. Are you ready? Go. I wonder if you're getting hungry. It's about lunchtime, so Mrs. Chapman certainly is. Are my halves both equal? Remember, the important thing with fractions is it has to be fair. Both halves have to be the same size. I've cut my toast in half. The next fraction we're looking at is called quarters. How do you think we spell the word quarters? You've got a nice view of the picnic rugs in our house, which we keep in that basket there. Quarters. Quarters starts with the Queen, who never goes out without her umbrella. Q and U are 2 letters that are always side by side in words, because the Queen doesn't want her beautiful hair to get ruined by the weather. I understand her problem in life. So she always takes an umbrella outside. Can you tell me how we spell quarters? Call it out. Letter names. Every letter has a name and a sound. Let's do the names. Ready? Go. Q, U, A, R, T, E, R, S. What does it spell? Quarters. Wave those beautiful phoneme fingers at me. Let's sound out the sounds. Qu, or, t, z. Quarters. Let's clap the syllables. How many beats are in the word? Quarters. 2. Remember, I can write my fractions in a word form or in a number form. And this is how I write a quarter in number form. I've got a 1 on top and a 4 down the bottom. And remember, in a fraction, the number down the bottom tells me how many parts to cut my shape up into. So if I have a whole circle, remember that important word, whole, W-H-O-L-E. I've got a whole shape here. It hasn't been cut up yet. And I'm going to cut it into how many equal parts? 4, because the bottom number in my fraction is 4. Remember, a cross is a common way of making quarters. All right. Or you can half the half. So make it in half, then make it in half again. This is 1/4. So I'm only going to shade 1 part, 1/4. If I shaded 2 parts, I would change the top number to 2 because I've shaded 2 quarters. If I shaded 3 parts, I'd change this top number to 3 because I've shaded 3 quarters. And if I shade the whole circle, It's 4 quarters because every single quarter is coloured in, and that is equal to 1 whole. I'd like you now to go ahead and cut your Vegemite toast into quarters. So I already had halves here, and a quarter is half a half. So I'm going to turn my toast the other way and cut it in half again. I can test to see if it's quarters if I'm left with 4 equal parts. Do I have 4 equal parts? Yes, I do. So I've made quarters. Have you made quarters? All right. The last fraction that we do sometimes in year 1, it's a bit of a challenge, a bit of an extension fraction. We call it eighths, which is just like the number 8 with the letters HS added on the end. Eighths. It's got that for thong sound on the end. Can you say that word with me? Eighths. Good. And we write it in number form as 1/8. There's my fraction bar in the middle. 1/8. How many parts, if I draw a circle, do you think I need to cut this circle into to show eighths? Remembering the clue is that the bottom number tells me how many equal parts I need to cut my shape into. I need to cut my shape into 8 equal parts. Now, halves, quarters, and eighths are easy because you can just keep on halving what you've got. So half it, and then you half the half to make quarters, and then you half the rest of the pieces to make eighths. So I'll show you what I mean. I've turned it into a half. I've turned it into a quarter. Now I can do diagonal lines like a cross to turn it into eighths. And eighths is often what a pizza is cut into. You're going to start seeing fractions all around you, girls and boys, because maths is everywhere in the world. Let's count the pieces of my shape to make sure I've created eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you look closely, as I counted, I put a dot in each part to make sure I didn't count the same part twice. That's a bit of a maths little clue, little tip. Just cross things off as you count or put a little dot to make sure you don't make a mistake by counting the same thing twice. And this fraction says 1/8, so I'm going to shade 1 of my eighths. If it said 2/8, I would need to shade 2 of my eighths, and so on. Have a go now at cutting your Vegemite toast. You can pause the video into eighths. So I'm going to cut each of my little pieces now into half to create eighths. Your turn. If you're at school, you'll need to be doing this probably with a piece of paper. Have I got 8 equal parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do. I have cut my piece of toast into eighths, and I can kind of put it back together again to make one whole. You are finished maths for today. It was a very practical, tasty lesson. You may now go and eat your toast.